I'm talking with Rabbi Handler. Are you aware of what Governor Cuomo just said an hour ago?
Yes, I saw the information that you cannot have more than 10 people in shul. What's happening right now is we are being subjected to a soft pogrom. It's called the slicing the salami technique. Every day they slice another slice and they push us to the wall and they bully us. I don't think that the Haskanim and many of the Rabbanim are aware of what's going on. Rabbi Yitzchak David Smith is aware, and he made a video and warned us about it. So I'm going to explain what's going on, but first I want to start off by making an appeal to the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, who's always been nice to Jews, and to his Attorney General, Mr. Barr. We have no representation here in New York State. We have no protection. We have a governor who's a mass murderer who has killed over 11,000 people in nursing homes. There's no argument about that. He did it intentionally. He was warned that if he put sick people in nursing homes who have COVID, they would die. And he threatened the nursing home owners if they don't take them, and they don't, and that they would lose their licenses. And the threat of blackmail, they took them in. 40% of the deaths in New York State, over 11,000 people died. 40% was in nursing homes, directly due to Governor Cuomo and to his Dr. Mengele, Howard Zucker, who works for him, takes his orders. We have a mayor in this city who is a communist, a leftist communist, who has no regard for business people. He allowed rioters to destroy Macy's, destroy all the stores on Fifth Avenue, Madison Avenue. He did not let the police stop them. Looting, destruction, firebombs, and to this very day, they're under threat. People in the stores are being robbed in the stores by people wilding in the stores. I have that information. So I appeal to you, President Trump and Attorney General Barr. We have no protection here. The city is totally anarchy, in a state of anarchy. You have already proclaimed that New York City is a city that is in terror, and now we'd like you to take action and do something to sue the mayor and sue the governor and stop them from conducting this soft pogrom against our community. We are not being allowed to pray in our synagogues. You have already taken action in Washington, D.C. to protect the churches there from the mayor over there. And we'd like you to come here and do the same thing. We are not allowed to open our schools and our yeshivas and our Beis Yaakov schools for our girls. We're being deprived of an education. Our children are wandering the streets and being destroyed. In Jewish thought, this is called pikuach nefesh. Godol hamachtio yosem in ahargo. To kill a person spiritually is worse than to kill him physically. And our children are being killed spiritually by these restrictions, by these lockdowns. And the governor says that, well, it's because I love you. The mayor says, it's tough love. We love the Jewish community. We're doing it for your own good. Oh, really? You're doing it for our own good? Everybody knows. Dr. Gupta of Oxford University has stated very clearly with her two colleagues around the world, masks do not work. The pores in the mask, the pores in this mask are 400 times larger than the size of the virus. How can they possibly filter the virus? When you put on the mask, there's holes on top, holes on the bottom, holes on the side. This mask is junk, it's garbage, it's BS. What is the purpose of the mask? The purpose of the mask is to get you to comply, to scare you. Hermann Goering of the Third Reich was asked at the Nuremberg trial, how did you get the German people to do these terrible, horrible holocausts? He says, it's easy. You just scare them. You inflict terror. The mask is a tool of terror. You look around you, everybody's wearing a mask. Oh God, our lives are in danger. We have to do whatever the governor says, whatever the mayor says, and your mind is frozen. You can't think straight. Who is this governor who cares about us? This is the man who made a regulation, an executive order, dictatorial executive order. Nursing homes in New York State must take in people from the hospitals who are stricken with COVID-19 and bring them into a population of vulnerable people who are weak, who haven't got strong immune systems. He was warned by emails from the nursing home operators, you're going to kill our people. Don't do it. And he said, he had a conference call with his Dr. Mengele, Howard Zucker. If you don't follow my executive order, you're going to lose your license. I'm going to take away your business. You'll be poor. You'll be impoverished. And so under blackmail, they followed his orders, and 40% of the deaths in New York State, over 11,000 elderly people, died. Not died, they were murdered intentionally. There was only one nursing home operator in New Jersey where they also made a similar law, an Orthodox Jew who asked his rabbi and said, should I comply with this law? They're going to kill my people. He said, no, you have no right to make a living by killing your people. If they take away a license, so be it. So he did not listen. He defied the governor. And you know what? He was the only nursing home in New Jersey where no one died because he cared about human life and he respected his rabbi who told him that he must not murder people. And so that's the governor, mass murdering psychopath. He cares about us, he loves us. If you believe that, then I have a bridge in Brooklyn that I would like to sell you for a very good price. It's called the Brooklyn Bridge. And we have a mayor who lets wild people destroy the city. He says he has tough love for our community. Tough love? He's a communist. He doesn't care about business people. He wants to destroy our businesses in Borough Park, close them, and choke them to death so they don't have any business. Half of the restaurants in New York State are closed and will never reopen. They've been totally destroyed. The business people have been destroyed. Don't tell me it's about health, because the masks don't work. Don't tell me about that.
So how come we don't see cases of people telling me and you, or anyone, I wore a mask every time, I always wash my hands, and you see, I got COVID anyway. Where are all those people?
Well, the people who have masks do get COVID. Rabbi Yeshua Soloveitchik has a yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, and he said he does not observe the lockdowns. In his yeshiva, he says the boys can do whatever they please. The only boys in his yeshiva who became sick with COVID was one boy who was wearing a mask and another boy who was hiding in the dormitory under lockdown. They were the ones who got sick. The boys who were learning Torah and didn't observe these silly things did not get sick.
But what were they doing? I'm sure they were doing something. They were just careful, washing their hands, or...
Well, they washed their hands, all right, they're normal precautions, all right, that's fine.
Normal halacha.
That's fine, that's normal halacha. But you have to understand, these people don't care about you. They're not worried about you. Another indication is, if the mayor really and truly believes that social distancing is important and masks are important, why did he address a Black Lives Matter rally in Brooklyn? Over 1,000 people packed together like sardines, and the mayor lecturing to them without a mask. If he really thought that they would die, would he have done that?
Well, maybe he doesn't care about them either.
No, he does care about them because those are his troops. Those are his people, leftist communists. He does care about them. And his daughter, by the way, was also part of that group. The answer is these politicians know that this mask is baloney, social distancing is baloney. Everybody's going to get COVID-19. The only solution, the only real solution is what Dr. Zelenko said. Stay out of the hospital by taking hydroxychloroquine as a preventive prophylactic together with zinc, which will kill the virus. And you must do it in the first 5 days. Don't give me these phony studies where you gave hydroxy to someone in the hospital who was half dead. Of course it doesn't work then. It has to be done in the first 5 days. As soon as you feel anything, your sense of smell is bothering you, you have problems. Or if you can't get hydroxy, because the governor of our state has restricted it and has told the pharmacists they will lose their licenses and the doctors will lose their licenses if they dare to prescribe this life-saving drug, this very compassionate governor of ours. If you can't get it, use quercetin with vitamin C together with your zinc, and that will also prevent your getting stage 2 of the coronavirus, which kicks in after 5 days. After 5 days, you get organ damage. So therefore, Dr. Zelenko says he doesn't wait for proof of any kind or testing of any kind. As soon as someone has symptoms, he immediately starts them on the drug as a prophylactic, just like President Trump did. When he took the drug, he wasn't sick a few months ago, it was a month ago. He just took it for prevention, that's all. And you can do that. And how is it that all these doctors that are treating hundreds of patients, they don't get sick? What's their secret? Well, they said their secret at the press conference of the frontline doctors in Washington that was not covered adequately by the media and censored. The doctor said, I take as a prophylactic hydroxychloroquine twice a week. And so do the doctors in India and all over the world and many world leaders. And that keeps them out of trouble. It does not allow the virus to replicate. So I say to the governor and the mayor, you are a bunch of fakes, phonies, and frauds. You don't care about people. On the contrary, you are psychopathic murderers of people, and you're psychopathic murderers of their businesses and their livelihoods. Many people have committed suicide, thank God not in the Jewish community, because they lost their livelihoods and their businesses that they worked their entire lives for because of these crazy lockdowns that don't work. The only solution is what Dr. Zelenko has told you. Make sure everybody has access to these drugs which prevent the replication of the virus. Hydroxychloroquine, zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D is also helpful, and even NAC, N-acetylcysteine, which prevents one of the problems that comes up with COVID, which is coagulation of the drugs. You have problems with blood clots, and NAC, N-acetylcysteine, breaks up these blood clots, prevents you from getting heart attacks and strokes. So I advise you people, do what Dr. Zelenko has said. He's had thousands of patients. He's being consulted by governments all over the world, including now the government of Israel and Vice President Pence. And he has said, in his practice, nobody goes to the hospital. He gets things done in the first 5 days so that people will stay out of the hospital. The hospital is a dangerous place. Originally, they were murdering people with ventilators, blowing up their lungs with too much pressure. Now I'm just hearing cases where people go into the hospital and they don't even get a drink of water for 12 hours. They're starving them, they're making them weak.
That is still going on?
It's still going on. I just got a report today. Hospitals are not giving water. They're treating people like garbage. So I warn you, stay out of the hospital. Take these preventive measures. And more importantly, I want to close again. Please, President Trump, and please, Attorney General Barr, you're already taking action in Washington, D.C. against Mayor Bosner, I think her name is, who she's closing down churches, okay? Because you say the First Amendment gives us religious rights, and you can't simply take away people's right to practice their religion because of some medical extremism. This medical extremism, these fake, phony, fraud medical data, you're using testing to show that people are sick. The tests are PCR tests. The head of Pfizer Laboratories, one of the heads of Pfizer Laboratories, wrote a long article, 13 pages, I printed it out, and he said, in our laboratory, we use PCR tests very critical way because it works by amplification. You amplify the slightest indication to bring it up. This is very hard to control, and it's definitely not to be used in clinical situations with human beings, because if you had a cold 3 months ago, we're going to amplify that little corona from the cold and tell you you're testing positive when you're perfectly healthy. The only reason this testing is being pushed by Governor Cuomo, we have a testing center here on 40th Street and Fort Hamilton Parkway, is because it empowers him and it empowers the mayor.
And there's a lot of money involved also. They're making money
too. But because of these tests, they can go to the media and say, oh, we're having so many cases. And therefore, it's critical. And in the minds of people who are not too knowledgeable, a case means death, which it is not. It means you were tested positive for a PCR test that is 90% not accurate. So therefore, Notice the change. When they started in March, they said
Hospitalizations. Now it's
we're
cases.
going to
Two
monitor
different things.
deaths, the number of deaths.
Right, well, deaths, right.
And when
It was
the
deaths,
go
hospitalizations,
down,
now
we're
it's
going
cases
to, we're
only.
going to stop. Well,
Now
when
it's
the
cases.
deaths went down, in July they were almost zero. We're near zero now with deaths. They can't use that as an excuse for their military law, for their emergency powers that they have now as dictatorship. But they still want to be dictators. They still want to do what they want to do. So they, okay, we'll change the goalpost now. Now it's going to be hospitalizations, and now it's going to be just testing positive. Don't be fools. Do not close the yeshivas. Do not close the girls' schools. If we all stand together, as Benjamin Franklin said, either we hang together or we will hang separately. That's my message to the Jewish community. Stop being bullied by bullies. Stop it. And go to the President of the United States and Attorney General Barr. Agudas Yisrael has Abba Cohen. They have a lobbyist there who is well connected. Go there and bring them in here, just like they're doing in Washington, D.C., and let's stop this soft pogrom against our community. Thank you very much. A good yontif.